right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the April 16th, 2026 meeting of the Merced County Association of Government. And is there anybody who would like to do an invocation? Yep. One will. Caleb, you're closer. It doesn't matter. I'll get you on the next one, I promise. Please rise, if you're able.
Please bow your heads. Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for this opportunity that we have to gather together and go over all these different decisions being made for our county, for the city, for all of the different residents that enjoy this beautiful, beautiful town. Bless the leaders that are here today, that they would all be able to work together to benefit all of us. And thank you, Lord, for this beautiful weather that we're having as well. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Director Ford, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Joy, can we have the roll call, please?
Director Kale?
Here.
Director Reed? Here. Director Ford?
Here.
Director Samra?
Here.
Director Amabile? Here. Director Serrato? Director Pacheco?
Here.
Director Pedroso?
Here.
Director McDaniel?
Present.
Director Pereira? Here. Chair Silvera?
Present. All right, item number 2 is approval of the agenda. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
So I have a motion by Director Reed and a second by Director McDaniel. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 3 is public comment. Public comment is available in advance of or during the meeting. See instructions for public comment on page 2 of the agenda packet. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board? All right, not seeing anyone. Do we have anybody online? Do we do online?
We don't have any board members online.
Okay, very good then. Then we will move from the public comment period and move to item number 4, and we'll go to the Caltrans report. And Caleb, you have the floor.
Chair, members of the board, good to see you all again. A couple of announcements and a couple of funding opportunities and then some follow-up items. So last month, the California Transportation Commission, CTC, allocated money to advance mass transit systems, expanding pedestrian and bicycle options, and improve freight movement. We had 3 significant projects within District 10. One is for San Joaquin COGS Phase 1B of the State Route 99-120 connector project. Another one for San Joaquin County for State Route 88, the pavement anchor project near the community of Lockford. And then the third one was in Merced County for State Route 140-165 mobility improvement project. The funding will be used for support costs to construct a single-lane roundabout at the intersection of 140 and 165, just south of the community of Hillmar. This project will reduce delays, improve traffic operations within the intersections, especially during peak commute hours. Next announcement is from the Caltrans Division of Local Assistance, Office of Environmental Compliance and Outreach, ECO. We're pleased to introduce the monthly virtual ECO office hours are going to be open to all agencies, tribes, and their partners, specifically giving guidance on NEPA compliance for local assistance projects. There's going to be the first Wednesday of each month from 10 to 11. If you want more information or to join, you can reach out to Parminder Singh, who's our local assistance lead in District 10. Next is the Caltrans Workers Memorial event. So each April, Caltrans honors its fallen employees at the statewide Workers Memorial. Family members, coworkers, friends, and the public are invited to attend, which will take place on April 23rd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Riverwalk Park in West Sacramento. You can also watch the event live on the Caltrans website and also view previous year's workers' memorials as well. And then the last announcement is regarding our May is Bike Month event. So it's going to be held Wednesday, May 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Modesto at the Virginia Corridor Trail next to the O'Brien Market in Rosenberg Square. This is the second year we're having this event. It's very successful. So we'll be kind of doing a tabling event and information sharing from 10 to 11. We'll have a couple of speakers from 11 to 11:15 and then go on the bike ride about 11:15. 3 funding opportunities I'll touch on real quick. So the first is the CalSTA's Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, also known as TIRCIP. The applications are due May 14th, and there's currently $900 million available for that. The next is the California Transportation Commission's Active Transportation Program, also known as ATP, and that's Cycle 8. So there's currently $574 million available on that through some federal, state SB1, and state highway account. Applications are due June 22nd. And then although Caltrans can't offer letters of support for those first 2 funding opportunities, we're happy to consult and give any guidance on your particular jurisdictions if you guys are applying, so you can just let us know. And then the third one is from the US DOT All Stations Accessibility Program. So this is funding for competitively available activities including planning, capital projects, and upgrades to the accessibility of legacy rail public transportation systems for people with disabilities. Currently $686 million available on that. Applications are due May 1st. 2 Merced County specific announcements. So the encampment and trash cleanup near Highway 99 was completed this last week. One in Livingston on Winton Way, and the other one off of 99 at Bear Creek. And then we finishing up the project for the John C. Eureka Rest Area on southbound I-5, which will open on May 1st. So happy to get that open because it's been closed since April of 22. And then a couple of follow-up items. So last month, Alan from Asset Management was here to do the project update. So a couple of follow-ups on that. So the flooding on First Street in Gustine. So construction is working on solutions for that, and hopefully by the time we get that project wrapped up, those flooding issues won't be a problem in the future. The 140, 165 intersection, the truck delay concern was brought up. So we will be monitoring that, and if necessary, we'll have flaggers out there to help with those trucks and traffic, especially during peak times, to ensure that the ag business continues to flow as quickly as possible. Appreciate the comment about the tomato season. So we have added additional street sweepings to the construction contracts to ensure that the freshly paved roads stay clean as they cure. And then the last 2 items, we're starting to coordinate with traffic safety team, and these are going to take a while, but they're on our radar. And I'll provide updates when necessary, or when those become available. That's the Highway 165 and Henry Miller Road, as well as the 165 Merced River Bridge. So we'll kind of work through those processes and hopefully come up with some solutions and bring those back to the board. And then finally, I talked, I think in December, about going to be going out to the various cities and counties within the district and doing more kind of one-on-one, in-person relationship building and talking about ways that Caltrans can become better partners. So we're excited that we're going to be doing those. We're going to be going out to Gustine. Actually, they're meeting with Gustine right now for the kind of the pre-meeting. Then we're going to be going out there, and then we're meeting Los Banos virtually next week, and then we'll schedule the in-person. And then we've met in person with MCAG and their staff, and so we're just excited to be, building those relationships with our local partners and bridging with the Caltrans as a whole. So I know that was a lot, but I'll pause there and take any questions or comments. And if you have any feedback from from last month, when we do the quarterly project updates, happy to modify our approach to your liking as well.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments? Director Amabile.
Thank you, Chair. Can you give me an update, the challenges that you've been having getting the right-of-way in 152, the overlay? We talked about it last month that maybe the city could help you out on some of that.
Yes, I got an email a little while ago. So we are proceeding with the resolution of necessity on 5 parcels in either the August or October CTC meeting. In addition, we recently identified that some of the electrical work will require more right-of-way from parcels that were not previously identified. We're currently evaluating these impacts and will coordinate next steps accordingly. And then this current schedule indicates the earliest that we're ready to list would be December of 26, and then construction would follow in 27.
Do you feel that there's still going to be parcels left out? Do you know that as today?
I don't know that in specifics. I know we're continuing to work towards a solution and don't want the project to be delayed. So I know the team is working hard, and we understand the sensitivity of this project and how important it is to the community and to Caltrans as well. So
I hate to bring up like 25 years ago when I was mayor, 1.0, we were widening that highway and adding a turning lane, and we went through the exactly same issues. So we stepped in as a city because the property owners just don't know what's going on, and they think you're just grabbing property. They don't realize you're improving their frontage, putting new driveways, new sidewalks. I think there's just a lot of miscommunication, and that's where the city can really help. We can meet with each property owner that you're having problems with, explain to them more than what you had time to do on your couple of meetings you had in Los Banos, and help that process, and hopefully get them okay with going forward. And again, like I said last month, a couple of lawyer firms have got in there and said, don't sign. We can get you 100 times what they're going to give you and all that stuff. And so we want to put all that to rest too. So anything we can do, please reach out and do it, because 25, 28 years ago, they weren't going to put sidewalks on a bunch of different areas. And so we got that all rectified, and we got sidewalks the whole time. So
yeah,
anything we can do.
Back with the right-of-way folks and let them know that the city is, a partner, and if we can kind of get this thing through soon, that would be great.
Yeah, because we need that sidewalk ADA access the whole way. That's the right thing to do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Amabile. Any other directors have questions? Not seeing anyone? All right, Caleb, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to item number 5. These are information items. These items are included for information purpose. No presentation will be made by staff unless board members have any questions. Are there any questions on the information items number 5? All right, not seeing any. We're going to move on to item number 6 is the consent calendar. All consent calendar items listed below may be acted upon with one vote unless specifically removed for separate consideration by a member of the board, a member of staff, or a member of the public. We have items 6A through 4 and B through 2 and C1. Does any members of the board have any questions? Does any members of the public have any questions on these items? Not seeing any, we'll bring it back to the dais where the chair will entertain a motion. So I'm going to go with a motion by Amabile and a second by Samra. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Merced County Association of Governments, item number 7. These are action items. Action items will be considered separately by the board. Public comment will be available during each item. 7A is to award the 2026 Ana Maria Fuentes Scholarship to Lee Grand High School senior Yadira Damian Trujillo. And we'll go to Mary Michael.
That's going to be me for today. Yeah, I've been called a lot of things, but Mary Michael is a new one. Okay, so I am covering for Mary Michael today. I'm happy to present this item. And I also would welcome the board members who participated in this selection committee to also provide any additional comments, since I actually wasn't in the room. Okay, so, annually we offer a scholarship to one graduating high school senior from a school here in Merced County, and we do this in honor of a colleague who passed away way too young and unexpectedly several years ago, Ana Maria Fuentes. This has been a very successful program where we've been able to offer a scholarship in the amount of $1,000 for 1 year, and that is upon academic performance can continue up to a full 4 years, so $4,000. We have always worked with not just the Fuentes family, but also any volunteers on our staff who want to contribute to participating in the selection process, as well as board members. So this year, the committee, I'm going to get this wrong. This year, the committee is recommending that the award be provided to a LeGrand High School student, Yuridia Trujillo. And in your packet, you have all of her amazing accommodations. It is required for this scholarship that you have a 3.8 or higher GPA, and she was actually ranked first in her class with a 4.4 cumulative GPA, and was selected for a combination of her academic achievements and her work ethic. So she is... She's participated in the medical academy all 4 years of high school. She's passed the nursing assistant certification exam already through Merced College, and is on track to obtain her AA in social and behavioral sciences this summer. She's a first generation college student who has completed more than 200 hours of community service at Mercy Hospital, and has helped support her family by working in the fields picking cherries, figs, and tomatoes. So she'll be pursuing an undergraduate degree in pre-medicine, and has her long-term goal of becoming a pediatrician in the Central Valley, and has applied to UC Merced, UC Berkeley, and UCLA. So, and I believe our committee members who participated, I was hoping Mary Michael would have put that in her staff report. I think she mentioned Director Reed, did she? Oh, good, so she did. So not only did I get it wrong, but I got called out for it. Okay, Director Reed, do you have any additional comments to add?
Yep. Thank you. There were 26 applicants, and new this year for the committee was a matrix that we were able to score each candidate on, because all of them were fantastic. Every single candidate who applied, all were outstanding. And so we used a matrix to rank each one. We kind of narrowed it down to the top 10, then the top 4, then the top 3. And Yudiria stood out by far after we started ranking them down. And so a unanimous decision was made by the committee to award this scholarship to her. Any questions?
Does any board members have any questions? Director Pacheco.
Not a question, just a comment. LeGrand not only being in my district, but my hometown, I'm very excited to see somebody from LeGrand get the scholarship.
Yep.
And wish them the best success.
Mm-hmm.
Does any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone. Director Reed, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, I would like to move that the board approve Yadiria Damian Trujillo as the 2026 Ana Maria Fuentes Scholarship recipient.
Is there a second? A second by Director Pacheco. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 7B, this is to adopt a resolution 2026/04-16-03, authorizing the agency withdraw from the CalVans Joint Powers Authority and direct staff to provide formal notice in accordance with the Joint Powers Agreement. And we will go to Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have our slide deck up. I also have a handout that I will probably wait to the end because it's not directly relevant, but I think it's good information to review after we've had this discussion. I want to clarify by just saying that while the staff report and the presentation is teed up as an action item with a recommendation to withdraw from CalVans, this is really meant to be. I wanted it to be actionable, but also it does not need to be. Action is not needed today. There's a lot here. We've been a member of CalVans for 13 years or so, but as you'll see over the next few slides, after some deliberation, staff is encouraging the board to take this consideration. So if we could please go to the next slide. I have so many papers in front of me. I don't even know where I'm at right now. Okay.
You're in the county building.
I thank you, but it's not there. Okay, I'm gonna go with it because I know it. I was showing all these things before.
You want the slideshow?
No, I have, oh, here it is. I found it. Under the second dead tree on my desk. Okay. All right, so with that note, I'll just say let's get started into what we're going to do. This information that I'm sharing is going to be both a combination of material that we've provided and also, as you'll see, snapshots from the CalVans executive director. So CalVans is not something that we talk a whole lot about. But I want to just kind of tee up by saying why we're at this point where there is a recommendation to consider withdrawal from the Joint Powers Authority. Those key factors really being surrounding both utilization and some of their financial challenges. So it is a generally and historically a fairly underutilized service in Merced County. It has been financially challenged for many years. There's been kind of these ups and downs. This is not the first time that they've been really kind of at the doorstep of insolvency. So this is not a new conversation for us. It's just one that, from my perspective, has risen to the point where I felt it necessary with Director Samra, who sits on the CalVans board, found it necessary to bring it in for the full board consideration. The recent report that was their executive director made at their March board meeting, pointed to facing this threat of insolvency over the next 30 to 60 or potentially 90 days, unless there were some pretty extreme measures in place. I also will talk about how a discontinuation in the JPA would have minimal impact in Merced County, and that there is some risk exposure to continuing to participate in the sense of the financial liabilities and debt that would be potentially accrued as continued debt as part of the financial stabilization options that they have. Next slide, please. So just quickly, CalVans is a JPA, similar to MCAG. This one was formed in 2011, specifically to operate a public van pool system. They have over 700 vans now. We've been a member, as I said, since 2013, and you can see there the listed membership from the Monterey Bay and area and I just spelled Santa Barbara wrong, and as well as the Riverside and Imperial area, and then and then now the all the Valley COGs that you can see listed there. I will say that the level of activity and participation varies significantly across these regions. Historically, San Bernardino and Kern COG were also a part of the JPA, but they left in 2021, and Kings left CalVans in 2023. Next slide, please. This slide is a literal screen grab from the CalVans executive director's presentations, but I just wanted to show, because the financial situation of the agency is really at the heart of the discussion. But these are the member agency contributions and subsidies. So there are no member dues for CalVans. So as you can see, there's different types of arrangements, but for us here in Merced, we pay a $400 a month subsidy to drivers for the participants in the program up to the 2 vans. So it's really, I'll say, kind of like a subscription base if someone uses a CalVans vehicle, and you can get up to the $400 a month subsidy as a driver. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of text here, but I wanted to being that it was in the packet, I wanted it to kind of I wanted you to be able to read it as a standalone document. So the considerations that went into this item or this recommendation really came from or I guess was triggered by the latest report from the executive director that was at their March meeting, whereas again, he was talking about the agency. Granted, he's been in the role, I think, since December, so he is coming into a really difficult position. And so he's really being transparent, and I applaud him for that because it's a difficult situation to be in. And he's reporting this unprecedented financial position that they're challenged with that could require some extraordinary intervention to stave off some insolvency, as I mentioned. He did outline revenue and mileage reporting benefits to member agencies, and that's something I'll talk about in a minute because I think it kind of signals a bit to some structural changes that may need to occur for them to be solvent. And then he also reviewed some emergency measures for the board to consider. His PowerPoint presentation is the one that's in the board packet. In terms of the financial condition and risk assessment, some of the things that we looked at is that a recognition that there is underlying financial instability. Arguably, I would say, and I mentioned this to Sid, that I think it's difficult to run a public transit or a public agency like that without the member dues and those kind of unrestricted funds to be able to count on. There have been instances where they've used restricted funds to stay afloat per his presentation. They have very little cash available. They have a $13 million, almost a $14 million budget, and report having just a little more than $200,000 cash available. They have quite a few state grants that have financial obligations that have not been satisfied. And so they're in a place where they have projects that they seemingly can no longer deliver. So for example, they may get a couple $1 million grant, and that grant is tied, their share of the grant is we're going to provide electric vehicles to this housing project. The money was received, but the vehicles haven't been purchased to go in. So you do that a couple of times, and there's a significant, I don't know if debt's the right word, I'll probably use the wrong words, but there's a significant obligation there associated with those grants that really you're looking at then returning the money or buying the vehicles, and neither of them seem to be particularly good options. And they know, I think it's not quite $1 million, it's about $850,000, I think, in reported uncollectible debt. And then just some insurance issues that they're working through. So none of one of these is particularly the story. It's the combination of all of it that's just a really difficult financial position. And again, I just want to underscore, the current executive director is doing, he's trying to find a way to rebuild out of this, but Calvance has had just structural financial challenges for a really long time. Next slide, please. And then just the realities, I think, on top of those that are unique to Calvance, these are other kind of considerations that came through our analysis. Is, we see a trend in their decrease, their billable miles are decreasing. Rising fuel costs and operating costs is something we're all facing. I feel for him, and I told him this, without having a fleet replacement fund, that feels like an insurmountable thing. It's something that Yart struggled with for many years. We still don't have one, and it's very, very difficult. They also are facing the same electrification requirements. There's the immediate need that I think Sid may have addressed over just in the last time in the month that we've met on those immediate needs that they need for cash flow. And then I mentioned the state obligations that are looming. So some of the things, next slide please, that he had included in his slide deck was things he's working on to kind of bridge this financial situation. I don't need to go through these, but I think when I talk about risk, and maybe what triggered this for me, is that we've participated with Calvance for a long time because it's been underutilized, but there was no, I don't want to say harm, no real risk. It was, if people wanted to use the service, we had the subsidies. There were no member dues. It wasn't costing us anything. My concern, I think, at this point is, even if I can't imagine how he will build the agency out of the debt situation that they're in. And I would expect, because if I was in his situation, that it will need to include a number of these things. And so from my perspective, I see that as additional debt accumulation that as a member agency, if we continue, we'll be part responsible for should there be insolvency. Member dues, it's very hard, if not, I would struggle at all to justify paying into member dues when there's just such little benefit. And I'll talk about the usage in a second. So that was the trigger for me, is this the time to have this hard conversation? Because they will be rebuilding and it will probably require significant investment from the members who continue. And that is just from our perspective, it's not worth putting the investment in when the benefit is not matching the investment. Okay, next slide. I promise I'm almost done. Famous last words. So I want to talk a little bit about specifically to us. So the Calvans, MCAG's contributions to van pool. So Calvans is just one van pool program. It is a JPA, but we also participate through the DIBS program, San Joaquin COG, which you've heard us talk about. There's also we have two options essentially. If you are someone in Merced County and you want to do a van pool program, we have CalVans and we have the program through DIBS partnering with Enterprise. Either one, you can get the same amount of money. It's the same experience. The vehicle will just be a little bit different, but we offer both. And it's because we kind of sit in this geographic place where we're kind of in the San Joaquin, Stanislaus region, and then we're also kind of down south. CalVans is very underutilized of both. We've had longer term relationships with CalVans where we just couldn't spend down the money. And now that we have this agreement with San Joaquin COG, anybody can contact them and use the program. You can contact CalVans directly. You can contact San Joaquin COG through the DIBS program. Access is not the issue. And where it's different is in the actual utilization. What I'll hand out is the DIBS quarterly report that just came out this week. And for the last quarter, it shows that we have 21 van pools that occurred during that time period, and 3 of them were CalVans. None of them are ag van pools. So they're 2 go to the prison in Chowchilla and 1 goes to Mariposa. And we were told today that the one of the 2 that go to the women's prison has notified Enterprise that they'll be shifting from CalVans to Enterprise. I think there's some changes happening at CalVans that are probably very necessary for financial stability, but it's making it's a change that those users are not wanting to go with. So I'll give you this if you have more information, and it's a good takeaway. I want to mention one of the conversations about, or one of the notes that he made about a return to source funding or funding in general. So CalVans doesn't receive the funding directly from FTA, but they report miles annually to what we call NTD, National Transit Database. So they will say, Merced County, we're reporting 125,000 miles for the year, and it goes into the NTD database. Their program, the PowerPoint that you'll see, it suggests that if they're reporting 10% of our miles, then 10% of the FTA funds that we get should be attributed to CalVans. Just to be clear, they're not asking for that money, but when we start seeing we may need to consider return to source, that's what we're talking about. But unfortunately, the formula is not that cut and dry. It's actually pretty complicated. And most of the program funding that we get through FTA is the formulas are based on population, not on the vehicle miles. So reporting those miles don't affect how much. Next slide, please. And this is what that looks like. So the long and short of it is we got in 2024, $4.6 million. So if you take a 10% across the board, which is what the CalVans report says, then you would think, oh, well, CalVans is responsible for bringing in $460,000. But here's the reality. Of that $4.6 million, the majority of it goes to the 5307. That's the 3.9. It is based on population, not on miles. So adding additional CalVans miles does not affect how much money we get there. 5340 is the 164, also based on population. So there's nothing you can really attribute there. But we got in 2024 what's called stick points under 5307 because we hit a specific performance metrics regarding vehicle hours. Because that happened, if you converted the CalVans miles into hours, it would be 2% of the total hours. So if you use the same allocation and said 2% of the total stick allocation is, attributable to CalVans, then it would be $10,000. I also will note that this is year to year. If you don't hit that performance metric, you don't get that money. So for example, we did not get the stick point in 2025, so there would be 0. So I hope that makes sense. All right. I promised I'm almost done, but I am. Okay, next slide. I am. This is it. So I know I just poured a whole lot out. I included a lot in the packet, and I do want to share the DIBS quarterly progress report. I will just close in saying that the JPA does have a withdrawal terms of 180-day written notice, so no part of any of this is going to be fast, even if a decision was made today. A decision does not need to be made today. But so the options that I have there are, you can say, hey, go issue the notice to withdrawal. You can take no action and say, come back and let's talk about it some more, or maybe, have more information brought forward or a presentation. Or you can say, nope, we're fine. We don't need to talk about this anymore. Let's just keep going as we are. I want to just be clear that I appreciate Director Samra. He did a great job. He was in the meeting, got this pretty stark financial report and said, hey, Stacy, you need to look into this. I dug in. I met with the executive director, Elizabeth, and I did. I talked to my peers. Fresno COG did just take action and have noticed their withdrawal already. I suspect there may not, I'm not going to speculate, but it was, for me, the moment that from a user's perspective, we have other alternatives. I would really struggle with any justification of funding CalVans because it would come directly out of our existing funding sources for other programs, and it's underutilized. So it's hard to justify that there's a user base that would rely on it or be left out. So I think it's just an important conversation. Of course, it's the board's decision, but that is my dissertation for the day. Part 1, actually. I have another one.
All right.
But not on this.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Stacy, for the very thorough and in-depth presentation. I saw Director Pereira had a comment or a question.
Quick question. If we do withdraw, does that absolve us of financial responsibility on the mess?
Guess I'll jump in on that one.
Okay.
The CalVans JPA agreement has a provision that states that the liabilities of CalVans are the sole responsibility of the CalVans JPA. There's another provision that requires CalVans to indemnify its member agencies. So it really does provide quite a bit of protection for member agencies. However, in any situation in which an entity, ends up with liability attributable to it and it's insolvent, there's always a risk to its member agencies. It would be difficult to collect from MCAG in that circumstance, but I can't say it's impossible. So there's always that risk.
Do you have something else, Stacey?
Just to clarify, Emily, that would be for debt incurred while still a member. So if we withdrew at some point, any new debt would not be, okay.
That's correct, yes.
And then, I don't know if this is for Paul, Stacey, or Emily, but if they're so insolvent, where'd the money go, right? If they got grant money to do stuff and they didn't do it, where's that money? Do we have any idea?
I don't think Stacy does either at this point.
I don't, I can't answer that, but I do know there is a plethora of information that's probably in my folder that I did read. What prompted the other members to leave a few years ago, under a different executive director, there was fiscal mismanagement, and there were a lot of members that had a lot of questions about how it all was happening, and it was a bit chaotic, a bit disorganized. They have since gone through and did the appropriate financial, auditing and documentation. I'm happy to share all of that, and maybe that is a focus of what I can bring back for a next presentation, is to help address some of those questions. I know it's a core part of their history in the last few years, but I don't have the same impression that it's of their current status. It's more of the aftermath of that they're kind of, it's like an albatross. So.
Director McDaniel.
Yeah, thank you. I do have a really good relationship with two of the board members on here, and I hear their discussions a lot at RCRC, Bob Nelson and Robert Poitras. And I know that they have really got a handle on this, and I think the fact that they went out and recruited Sid to come in and take over, because he was, you guys have now just brought him on full-time, correct? He was
3 months, yeah.
That is correct. It's very short times.
And I do know Sid very well, and this is a guy who really, I mean, he was on our GA team at RCRC, and he is very good. I think with the folks and with Gurpal on there as well, I feel pretty confident in not taking an action today and moving forward and let this play out, because after I've had a few, like I said, I've heard two of the members in long discussions on this, and they are definitely getting a handle on it. And I know the previous two executive directors maybe weren't so good at what they did, but I have confidence in Sid to get out in front of this. And I think it's interesting that we have two in Merced County that can compete with each other, that are both competing after the same kind of funding. I find that interesting. And I know that anyway, I don't think we should take action on this today. I think that would be a knee-jerk reaction for the first that we've heard of this to make a decision, and yet that they're already trying to line things up and move forward. And I feel confident with the leadership team there, and then relook at this maybe in a couple months to see where they are, because I know Sid's digging in and finding out more and more. I don't think it was misappropriation of funds. I think it was most directed and sitting in sitting in barrels and not used, not necessarily misspent. And so I think they're trying to get a handle on that right now.
Mr. Chair?
Director Samra.
Thank you. The reason I brought this forward too, first I went to Nav and then to Stacy, is when I heard this dire report, I couldn't just hold it. I have to let it to our director know so we can research further and then bring it towards the full board here. Director McDaniel is correct. Sid is very good. He just recently came on board, and I've been hearing these financial reports. They were not all that good, but no one ever raised it to this status that we saw back in March. Unfortunately, we had a meeting last week, and I was not able to attend. Just first one I ever missed, actually. Today I thought that Sid was going to be here, but at the last minute he had some other that he could not make it.
He's getting money for the program.
I didn't want. He sent me an email. I didn't want to tell you all that, but he is working on it. He's moving forward. I don't have any specific recommendation as a member, a representative for the board. It was just to bring it to everybody's attention. And I did not want to commit ourselves if there was, without legal representation, I didn't want to commit ourselves. If we don't bring it, are we financially liable? I didn't know that. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not smart as Stacy, so I didn't want to go there.
No, and Gurpal, I appreciate you bringing that forward, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I've been monitoring it from afar, and I knew that if we were alerted, you would alert us on it. So
Yeah, and I was kind of cautious of it before, but I figured, I knew we were getting a new director. I wanted to see what the new director tells us, and that's where I kind of got,
Another Director Amabile. So
What I'm hearing is, I guess Sid knows that we're contemplating this today?
Yes.
So I do know in that I did, in the interest of full disclosure, I did have a conversation with Sid yesterday. He had reached out to me earlier in the week, and I just got busy and got back to him. He had planned on being here today, and he had shared with me that he had meetings on the Hill today, was going to leave Sacramento, come down here for a meeting, turn around and go back and try to catch some more meetings. So just a couple thoughts I want to, I would strongly recommend that we don't take any action today and ask Sid to come and make a presentation to the board. And my guess is May is going to be a tough meeting. I know Stacy's going to she's going to be on the meeting on Zoom. It's during Ledge Conference. I know for me particular, I won't be here because I'm going to be in a CSAC board meeting at the time. There's a possibility I can make it back, but I don't know if I will. And so I told Sid, I said, well, if you're working on some stuff up there, let's have a conversation at the board. People are made aware of it now. There's more questions because I look at this, and Stacy mentioned a couple times, it's similar to YARTS in this sense. They're providing a transportation service, but it's trying to fit that proverbial square peg into the round hole. It doesn't qualify for any of the traditional funding, where you get formula funding for things. It's kind of like YARTS, where, and so I do know Sid. I know him from his previous work, and I think that's the reason why you probably were, I'm going to use the words, kind of shocked at what it was, is because in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, he wanted the board to know, listen, I've taken the covers off of this thing. This is what I'm seeing. And I also want to just put it on the record now that is, look, we've participated in this. I will tell you, I've been on this board now for quite a few years. I was actually the alternate on CalVans when I first got on the board on MCAG. At the time, Villalta was the rep, and he went to all the meetings as the alternate. I never had to go. So literally, I know we're part of CalVans. I know that we appoint somebody to CalVans, and I see CalVans once in a while, right? But I don't know a whole lot of details. I've been made aware more of what the details of it are now. And looking at the numbers, it is utilized by, you see some of the sister agencies within the JPA in their areas, they are using this a lot more. It is a lot more of a benefit to their communities. They get return on the investment. If the return on the investment for us is that there's a potential that every other year it generates an additional $10,000, but if we're going to get to a position to where we're going to be paying member dues, that's a harder conversation. If you were telling me, well, going by their numbers, that they contribute $500,000, and you told me, well, your member dues were going to be like $50,000 a year, I'm like, well, we're paying $50,000 to get an additional $500,000 in revenue. I'll make that deal all day long. But if you're telling me that we're paying $50,000 and it's giving us $10,000 and we have other options, that's a different story. But I think it behooves us to give Sid the opportunity to come and not just in a 3-minute public comment, but make a presentation and make the case so that myself and all of my colleagues up here are able to make an informed, educated decision. I think he's passionate about it. He wants to get this deal turned around. I don't know enough about it, but what I've read, I think he's got an uphill battle because he's dealing with a lot of demons from the past. But I think we give him an opportunity, and I appreciate hearing councils that there are protections in the JPA, but when it comes to suing, that stuff goes out the window, and there's still potential that we could be liable for it. So we have to have that real conversation. Director Pedroso.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, for full disclosure, I also spoke with Sid. He gave me a call yesterday, and I think that by allowing him to come and present, because he really recognized and acknowledged the fact that he inherited a mess. But the people that I think that recruited him, I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and I think that we should allow for at least him to come and say, to present to us before we take any action. And I agree with what my colleagues have already said. So,
are there any other further comments from Director Ford?
I just have a question about, as it stands right now, are we an asset to them or a deficit to them? Does it matter if we stay or if we go? Does it affect CalVans one way or the other very much?
So we don't contribute financially. So, I mean, I'm sure Sid will have a different, or I'd be interested to kind of see it from his perspective. So the reason that I brought it forward initially was because as long as it was kind of neutral to us, like we weren't paying, it was just kind of a neutral game. And if there was benefit, there was benefit, but they have a staff cost for us to participate because they do the mileage. So they have a significant amount of staff, when I met with Sid, that does the NTD reporting, which is pretty hefty. Now, I don't think that we are I don't even know that like having us or not having us would equate to a full-time person. I mean, it's just they have staff. But we don't financially contribute. So part of it for me was, in talking to Sid, was that, he had said how every county is going to need to kind of do do the gut check about whether or not, like, we'll each have to make our own decision about whether or not to continue. And I went along that path in my mind and with staff is like, well, we aren't financially contributing, and there isn't a benefit with 2 van pools when those riders could use a different program to really justify that. So it's like if that's where we arrive at, it kind of just cleans up to where he knows the roster he's working with when they go to rebuild, because of whether it's instituting member dues or whatever. But he can explain that. But that's a really long answer that I snuck in other information. But the answer is I don't think so. The answer to me is no.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so kind of go with what Director Ford's question is. We don't contribute anything financially as much, but I think what it does would help Calvans if they go to apply for funding and says, give us a list of your participating agencies.
Yeah.
If it shows that MCAG or the Merced County as a whole is a participating agency, it looks better on their report to say, we have this many agents that are participating. So, so it does help. And to me, based on what legal has said, that there is some minor risk, we don't know. But if somebody wanted to argue at this point, they says, well, to this day, you were a member, you're still, just because we exit out now doesn't mean we're not responsible for what happened in the past. So I agree with my fellow members here that I don't have any problems tabling it till Sid has the opportunity to come before us. And if it's not even in May, I'm okay to wait till June as well, because it's going to be, he's busy right now too.
Yeah.
So to me, maybe we can just say to May or to June too. Well, Sid has a chance to come here before us, and then we can make a decision at that point. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think it is to extend it to June. And May is just going to get to be a crazy month for everybody, and I think, look, ultimately, in my mind, you as our representative would have to vote if you decided to, if there was a new plan that said, hey, member dues, whatever that might be, you would have a vote on that on the Calvans board, and then and they can't legally bind us to anything. So any decision was made there would still have to come to this board. Because of the credibility of their current executive director, I think we can go down the road and at least allow him an opportunity to present something to us. And then at that point, we can make that decision. What I would not be interested in at this point is decisions made at the Calvans board level that would try to tie us to something, restructuring, more debt and all that. I would be like, no, let's. But at least I don't think they're there yet. I think they're still unwrapping some stuff and giving him 2 months. I think he might have a better picture. The Calvans board might have a better picture of what it is they're trying to accomplish, what it's going to look like, and that'll put us in a better position to be able to make a more educated decision. So I don't typically do this, but I would suggest to whoever makes the motion to go with action item 2 and then set it as for our June MCAG meeting is where we get to hear back from Sid. All right, I have a motion by Director Pereira. Is there a second? Second by McDaniel. And I forgot to say, are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimous. Thank you for the great discussion.
That's all I needed.
All right, and this is the handout that Stacey was talking about. All right. We're going to move right along to item 7C. This is the adopt the resolution 26-04-16-04 approving the fiscal year 2026-27 overall work program and budget for the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which I would like to refer to as MCAG, and we will go to Nav.
Thank you, directors. Good afternoon. Last month I brought a draft budget for the MCAG overall work program for 2026-27. Next slide, Marissa. Does it work? Oh, there we go. I think this works. All right. So as we're talking about the budget, we're talking about the MCAG MPO function of it. It's a transportation planning portion of this budget. As I mentioned last month, we are having a 2% reduction overall in the budget. We have a $5.3 million budget. This budget does include a cost of living adjustment of 3%. Salaries increased by 2%, communication 161%, which is a pass-through cost. Utilities increased by 60%, but the decrease in professional service and fixed assets make up that decrease of 2%. Last month, we had a conversation about how the cost of living adjustment is, determined, and some clarification for last month. I know there's some questions, so I want to get some clarification on that. When we talk about COLAs, MCAG for the last 10 years only had 30% increase in cost of living adjustment, while the Western region and San Francisco region average was 35.6%. So when I did mention last month, I mentioned there was a $240,000 impact to the budget. When I was talking about overall the impact to all the agencies under the MCAG umbrella, for this one, we're talking about $53,000. So before the COLA, the salaries and benefits are $2,300,000, and then salaries and benefits with the COLA is $2.4 million. The increase for this budget is $53,000. Any questions so far?
Any questions so far? Director Pereira.
Yeah, can you go back to the previous slide? There we go. So the budget includes a 3% cost of living adjustment.
Right.
For what? If the budget's decreased, how do you increase it?
Well, we have decreases in fixed assets and also decreases in audits, but then those are significant decreases when we talk about our budgets, when I go into the last slide. But
I guess my question is, are you asking for 5% increase, 3% cost of living adjustment?
No, sorry. Overall budget decreased by 2%, but that decrease also includes a 3% COLA in there. Sorry. Overall, it's a 2% decrease in our budget.
Overall, well, what's the COLA for?
Cost of living
For who?
for staff.
Okay, well,
Sorry.
that was my question. So it's a 5% adjustment, not a 2% for salaries and benefits?
So salary and benefits increased by 2%, right? So what we did was we usually inflate or give people, a higher end of the salary. We went back, and since we have newer staff as well, we adjusted the salary, right?
So I think now, if I might just help you out a bit, I think when you talk about it's a 2% salaries and benefits increased by 2% over the previous year, that's it's the dollar amount went up.
3% raise for the employees,
but
increases salaries and benefits by 2%.
That's way.
I do apologize. I apologize.
Well, sorry for being frustrated.
No. Like I said, I was trying to clarify. I was already looking forward to the next answer, and then yes.
Okay.
So overall, the budget does decrease by 2%, but that decrease includes a 3% increase of COLA in there for salaries, but salaries increased by 2% from previous years to current year. And then communications increased by 161%, but that's a pass-through cost because we do get a discount as an agency. So we help out YARTS on this, is where if YARTS were utilized to get the same service, they'll pay at a higher rate, where if MCAG gets it, it's at a lower rate, and so we just pass the cost on to YARTS. And then utilities increased by 60%, but then professional services did decrease by 1%, and fixed assets and audits also decreased as well. So when we do talk about cost of living adjustments, we're talking about, for this budget, it's $53,000 overall increase in our salary and benefits for the COLA, for this year. Any questions on this?
I just want to go back to that table. So last month there was a lot of conversation around that 239,814. So that is, if you take all of our employees under the entire umbrella and you apply a 3% COLA, the overall increase to the entire agency umbrella is $239,000. And then you take that, and because we have to have separate budgets for every JPA, that 239 is then broken down MCAG on the MPO side pays 53,000. The transit pays 33. RWA is 139, and it's hard to equate those necessarily like to person by person because, for example, we have a bunch of us whose time is spread across all of them. But that's what this table we were wanting to show is that there was a question about, well, you know, it's 239,000 is the increase overall, but 50,000 for MCAG. So next month, when you see the draft TJPA budget, you'll see that $33,000 increase if the COLA is approved.
How many total employees?
For the 239 is 78.
78.
78.
I mean, because breaking it down seems a smidgen silly because we're not going to give the MPO employees a raise and not the TJPA. You know what I mean?
That's why it comes in first on the MPO budget because everybody is an MCAG employee. So if it does not pass, that's why we ask for an adoption of this budget first. If it does not pass here with our MPO budget, then it isn't applied to the other agencies because everyone technically is an MCAG employee, and that's just where it gets awkward. You know, so for example, if this budget's approved, there isn't then a question, do we do a COLA for the TJPA team or for the RWA team? Everyone is MCAG, and then those pass-through costs for staff salaries and benefits are reflected in those budgets. If you see a better way to do it, or an easier way, it's just complicated, so we have to take it first to get the employee benefits addressed first.
And I think Director Parra, on this one, it doesn't actually equate to 3% if you do 53,000 divided by that 2.4. But we when we do our budget, we include the salary and benefits. But that's salary for this item right here. Salary before the COLA is $1,790,000, and after is $1,838,000. The benefits portion of it is $578,000 before, and then $585 after the COLA, which equates to that $53,000.
And so the average employee is making $102,000.
With the benefits, yes, with benefits and all.
Full package, full compensation. So we're going to give them 2% increase on their benefits as well?
No, so
or 3%.
When we talk about benefits, it's also including like, you know, our retirements, which if the salaries gets affected, the retirement portion gets affected along with, you know, what's the other one? I'll come back to this one, but salary benefits on it, and then also workers' comp benefits effects. So if we raise the salaries, those get affected too. That's part of the benefits. But health insurance does not get is not affected with the salary increase.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So before we go into the actual breakdown of the budget, this is how it's funded through federal funds. When we talk about PL, FHWA, those are federal highway funds, 5303, FTA funds, complete street funds, FHWA. Then we have state funds like SB1 planning grants. Some are apportionments, some are competitive grants. Then we have PPM, which is planning, programming, and monitoring. This is an allocation of about $196,000 a year. Then we have TDA funds, which is LTF funds and other funds, STA funds, but MCAG, this budget does not use STA funds. And then the overall work program is budget document. And the reason why we bring it so early is for Caltrans approval, which has to be adopted by May 8th. I think so. So when we talk about the budget, we see a decrease of $94,000. Some of it's from SB1 funding, housing, and then, as I mentioned, TDA funds, a decrease in TDA funds, and then a completion of grants, which is a California Adaptation Planning Grant. And then we go into the expenditures, a decrease of $94,000. As we can see, the fixed asset went from 254 down to 131, and then our audit services went down from It went from 133 down to $85,000. Along with our professional services, it went from 2,260,000 down to $251,000. So this decrease what makes up the budget for MCAG overall. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Nav?
Just to clarify, Nav, there were no changes to the budget from the presentation from last month?
Correct. No changes to the budget.
Okay. All right. I don't have any questions up here. Are there any questions from members of the audience? Members of the public? Not seeing anyone. We'll bring it back to the dais. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve
Wait.
as submitted.
I have a motion by Director Amabil and a second by Director Samra. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Let the record reflect that Director Serrato arrived at 3:57 p.m. and Director Pedroso left at 4 p.m. Okay, moving along to item 7D. This is authorize the execution of a one-year agreement for service between YARTS and MCAG for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. And we'll go to Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, MCAG has been the staffing agency for YART since its inception in 2001. 2000. I should know that. And we had historically been doing a year-to-year agreement. This is an agreement between MCAG and the YARTS governing board so that we can continue to be reimbursed for costs incurred for administering YARTS. The current agreement expires in June 30th of 2026, and we are recommending that the board execute a one-year agreement for the period of July 1, 26 through June 2027. The actual, this is a revenue contract, so the actual amount that is generated through this contract is based on actual staff time and expenses occurred, but it is historically been in the $550,000 range. I will just note that the last time this contract came to our board, staff had encouraged that we move towards a multi-year agreement, and that's to reduce the administrative burden that it just takes to do this annually. After doing it every year for 25 years, you start thinking maybe we can do it a little longer. But right now, we think that recommending a one-year agreement is best to be able to give us some flexibility as YARTS navigates an evolving environment. There's lots of things changing that will impact YARTS, some of which are close to going into being implemented. Like there will be no gate fees that will impact YARTS ridership this summer. The park is requiring that YARTS post about transit riders paying essentially a gate fee now going into the park at $20 a person, and then also $100 for non-residents. These measures will impact our ridership. Plus, we are going out to bid in the next few months for our new operations and maintenance contract, and there's always a cost that goes there that we'll have to make sure that we can address. So we just felt it was prudent that we do a one-year agreement. There's some evolving factors that we need to ride through over the next year, and we'll have a much clearer picture this time next year as to what that multi-year agreement might look like moving forward.
All right. Thank you, Stacy. Any members of the board wish to comment? Questions? See anyone? Does any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone. We'll bring it back to the dais. Chair will entertain a motion. A motion by Samra, second by Kale. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. There are no discussion items, so we'll move on to the TJPA. Item number 9, again, action items. They will be taken individually. Public comment will be made available. 9A is adopt a resolution number 2026/04-16-05, authorizing a transit and intercity rail capital program funding application submittal for the acquisition of 6 25-foot zero-emission electric buses associated microtransit operation costs for a pilot term of 3 years and facility maintenance improvements, and authorize the TJPA executive director to sign, execute, and submit the following. the project application for fiscal year 2026 Transit Intercity Rail Capital Program, and all documents related to the grant program, as well as executing Caltrans standard agreement contract. And we'll go to Serenity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Board. So yes, as the title specifies, this is for the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program. Caltrans spoke on it briefly, commonly referred to as the TIRCIP grant. It is due May 14th, so coming up on us pretty quick. And after evaluating our services, staff felt that it was a great opportunity to apply for 6 electric cutaways. So they are the 25-foot smaller buses, and this will be to operate a pilot program on the south side of the city of Merced. It will eliminate some of our fixed route on the M1 and the M3 on that south side. So it's the southwest portion of 99 between like Thornton and M Street, pretty much, in that corridor there. This will provide much better service to the community that's in that area. Right now, it's a very meandering fixed route that takes a good bit of time to get from point A to point B. The microtransit service will connect to the fixed route services at the Transpo. Associated with this, again, is the costs for the service for the pilot period of 3 years, along with additional improvements to our shop on the 802 Beechcraft property. This will be going towards our electric facilities. We currently have, again, as you know, we currently have 9 electric buses in our fleet. So we have some intermediate measures for electric battery safety in our shop, but we need to do some bigger improvements, more permanent improvements, and we will be using the 802 Beechcraft property for that. Rubber flooring, all the grounding materials, safety harnesses and scaffolding and all the things. So it will be, again, the 3 pieces of that: the buses, and the chargers associated, the shop improvements, and the pilot microservice for the 3 years. So if there are any questions, I will happily take them.
Any questions for members of the board? Not seeing anyone. Is there any questions for members of the public? All right, we'll bring it back to the dais. Chair will entertain a motion. We have a motion by Director Reed. Who said second? Was it Pacheco? A second by Pacheco. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. There are no items under 10, so we'll move to the RWA. Action items will be considered separately by the board. And item 11A is approve the deferral of the RWA jurisdictional rate increases scheduled for July 1st, 2026. And we will go to Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. This item is being brought to you due to the fact we are still in the midst of developing our RWA master plan. Staff came to you last year and we deferred the rate increase that was due to go into effect July 1st, 2025. We are back here again in order to provide some certainty for your jurisdictions that as of July 1st, 2026, we will not enact the currently approved rate increase pending the results of the master plan study. So other than that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer that.
Any questions for members of the board? Not seeing any. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone there. We'll bring it back to the dais. Chair will entertain a motion. I'm going to go with Amabile as a first, and I'm going to go with Samra as a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to item number 13. This is the executive director's report, and she has 3 things that she wants to report on.
I wish I had only 3. People hand me stuff. Okay, the draft 2025 Measure V implementation plan is currently being circulated for public review and comment. We've had 2 in-person meetings, or public hearings, one in Merced, one in Los Banos, and 2 virtual, some in the evening, some during the day, just trying to get everything done. That final plan will be before you at the May board meeting for adoption, along with some very eager funding agreements for projects that are funded so that we can get started on those as well. Also just wanted to acknowledge and applaud and thank the City of Livingston that launched their Eva Ibarra Memorial Scholarship. She was a resident of Livingston and was an active member of the Parks, Recs, and Arts Commission and was a coach and all of those. But many of you probably know her as a member of our team for many, many years, who was tragically killed in 2023. So I know that the city it is for a Livingston High School student, and I know that the city is seeking applications. I don't know that I can actually do this, but I'm going to do it and then ask for forgiveness later. But it's just something that we would encourage people to consider contributing towards. I don't know exactly how the city is setting up the financial situation, but I know that we're interested in talking as a team about how we could voluntarily help raise funds for that scholarship. So just want to acknowledge that that's happening and thank the city very much for that. The governing board retreat, June 23rd. That's just more of like, it'll be on everything and more to come. The high-speed rail business plan draft is out. It's been out for a while. Any comments to be submitted on the draft business plan are due, I think it's April 29th. I do also want to mention that it's fair time already, and we will be continuing our free parking and shuttle pickup with the bus. So it is free fare to the fair, free fare to the Merced County Spring Fair, April 29th through May 3rd. They will have 2 shuttles, one at Food for Less on Pacheco, and one at Target, also on Pacheco. They'll be running every 30 minutes from 5 p.m. to 11:30 with the final departure from the fairgrounds at 11:30. It is awesome. Take the bus to the fair. You don't have to worry about parking. It's great. And we'll do it when the fair's happening in Merced too. And then last thing is a reminder that we are seeking volunteer applicants for the Integrated Waste Management Local Task Force. We need 2 people from that represent a city, or 2 people from cities, and 2 people who reside in the county. And this is to help plan for the future waste disposal needs for the region. So we're going to be using this task force to make the recommendations to this board as it relates to, I'm looking here, feedback provided would include suggestions regarding disposal facility siting, input about our recycling programs. It's an important group. We need volunteers. Deadline to apply is May 15th. So if you know anyone who lives in the county or that is a resident and lives, meaning a non-elected official community member, or lives in one of your cities that would be interested, we have more information. See James right over there. I think that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, moving on. Director's reports. Director Ford. Director Samra. Director Kale. Director Serrato. Jaco. McDaniel. Pereira?
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm just disappointed that our retreat is on a date that and I think
I know.
you knew, right?
No. So
Sandra asked me and I said I can't be there.
yeah, so we had we worked with Sandra. We had a handful of dates that that worked, and we were finalizing the city representatives because we figured if we could start with the county, that's 5 of you, and we'll go from there. And we had holds, and then when that was the one that was selected, I think we got your rejection, and we talked to Sandra, and she said that the conflict wasn't on the schedule yet. So when she gave the information to us, it was that you were available, and then it wasn't, and it was the last of all of the options. So if we don't do it in June, I think it's the last week of June, it's going to have to be probably in the spring of next year, only because of people's schedules. But we're kind of stuck. So let's talk about it, because I don't like it either. But it also was one of those things that, we were working on it for a long time, and then anyway. So we did get the information, but after we'd already confirmed it, and then she said, no, he can't, he has a conflict. So we can talk about it. I just know that I think Stephanie was working on it with Sandra to start, and I think we started with, 24 dates, and it whittled down to that. So we can go back out. If we can hold that date, we can continue to look for more options, but I would really like to not lose that date as like a full backup plan. So we'll work on that. We'll see if we can find anything else. Yeah, Stephanie's like, yes, okay.
Okay, Director Amabile.
I just want to thank MCAG, James Moore. I did my speech, the State of the City, on Tuesday, excuse me, and every time I said something, James stood up and gave me a fist bump. I really appreciate that very much. Thanks, James.
Director Reed.
No, nothing to report.
All right. That concludes Director's report. So we will now move into closed session. The public will be provided an opportunity to comment on any matter to be considered in closed session prior to the board adjourning into closed session. Would any members of the public like to speak on our closed session item? Not seeing anyone, I will ask all those non-involved participants to please exit the room. All right. We have come out of closed session. There is nothing to report. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.